Good evening. Welcome to our training. I am Deb Halter. I'm the state chaplain for the state of Missouri. I have been there about 10 years, and I'm a past national chaplain, and we're joined here today with Peter Hook, who's a past national chaplain, and the national chaplain, David Fry, is on. And who am I missing? Did I see anybody that I missed? Frank Correa is going to be our teacher tonight. He's the instructor for the evening, and he's going to talk to us about posting things online that we do. Very important to be able to do this. I'm just going to put my 2 cents in early. I have strep, so I'm just kind of in la la land. So I'm going to do this while I can. This is important because the VFW has to know what we're doing, for one. Two, our posts need this credit for the things that we do. That's part of our 501c3 status. And it's certainly bringing to light the many things that chaplains do. So listen on how you can post your activities online, and what's important to do that. I'll chime in every once in a while. State of Missouri has been doing it for a couple, 3 years, maybe longer. And some of the states are just now picking it up. So if you haven't heard of it before, you are going to hear about it because it's a national project. While you're online tonight, please remain muted except when you are talking to someone. If you've been called on to speak, then unmute, please talk. Please remember to mute yourself back. The background noise is what gets us in trouble. People coming and going, dogs barking, birds chirping, whatever, grandkids screaming. And that's all fine and good, but it's distracting for the class. And we are recording this class to be able to put it on YouTube so that those people who miss it can come and see it. And for those of us who want to remember what somebody said at some point in it, we can go back and review ourselves. So we need to have the background as silent as possible. But we do want you, when you're called on, to please go ahead and ask your questions. Please mute yourself back afterwards. As I said, our national chaplain, I believe, is out there. Dave, where art thou? Did he get on and stay on, or did he get kicked back off?
Deborah, he's traveling, so he's going to try to listen.
Okay.
He's on his way to the airport. He's going to try to listen. He may not be able to get on there.
He is going, for those of you that don't know, there's the National Travel and what do they call it? A retreat? Peter?
Event.
And it's in Pennsylvania. Peter and his crew hosts it, and the national chaplain goes to that and attends that. There's lots of neat things to do there. So he's traveling because it takes a bit to get from Idaho to Pennsylvania. So he's in the middle of making his way across the United States for the most part. And with that, I'm going to give it to Frank. Frank can start with a prayer, and I think the class will be of value to everybody. Thank you for your attention.
Right. Let's open in a brief prayer. Almighty God, we just ask that you bless all the participants today, that would stimulate us to think about the things we do and why we need to report them, and just help us to learn and grow together and continue to take care of this fine group of men and women that devote themselves to our military families. And we just ask your travel mercies and blessings on our national chaplain, Dave. Keep him safe as he travels. And I also want to lift up the event in Pennsylvania. May all the participants be blessed and give them safe travels and health. In your name we pray. Amen. All right. Today I'm going to present dashboard reporting for chaplains. And the actual presentation is fairly brief because we don't want to drown you in details. But there will be time for some Q&A. We have a lot of experience here online, and some what ifs, because I think what ifs are usually the common thing that comes up with a topic like this. All right, the way I'm going to do this is Yeah. PowerPoint to move here. It's freezing up. Great way to start, huh, Deb? There you go. 3 things I'm going to cover just to break it into 3 sections. Why we report, because if we don't know why we're doing it, then anything I say after that's probably not going to be listened to, and rightfully so. What to report, and then how to report it will be the how-to. Now, Chaplain Deb did touch a little bit on the reasons why, and I want to reiterate that, maybe add a little bit to it. And unfortunately, the chaplaincy, if I may say, is really not a priority of the organization. Things like, membership and political action, obviously take the lead in the organization, and that's understandable. But the concern that we have as chaplains is that oftentimes we're just viewed, I know a lot of people view us as just purely ceremonial. What does the chaplain do? He or she reads a prayer at a meeting, and that's the end of it. That's all they do. They don't do anything else. And unfortunately, we're trying to overcome that and show people that that's not true. So in other words, the sum total of our duties, are not just to say, prayers at meetings. And in reality, I would venture to say that's actually a very small piece of the pie in terms of what we do.
I can't get the volume to work.
Whoever's trying to get their volume, if you could put it on mute, thank you. Now with
You can mute them, Frank.
Oh,
No,
let me see. I'll find out how to do that here.
I do. I'm pushing them out to the side, so.
I'm not sure who's speaking though.
It's Barbara Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Oh, she's done it.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara. Okay. So, with religious affiliations
I'm on
throughout our
mute
country
now.
are in decline.
I'm not doing the thing. It says
Okay,
mute.
I can see that us.
Yeah.
Where's your volume?
We need a mute again.
Someplace
Sorry,
here.
guys.
You mute.
There we go. Let's try it again. So again, statistically within our country, religious affiliation, church participation, things are in a gradual decline. And so, I think we're just a reflection of that. And so that means that things like chaplaincy, religious affiliation, spiritual care, things like that are moving down the list of priorities just because we're a cross section of the country. And the military as a whole is going through the same thing. I have a couple of friends that are military chaplains in the Navy, as a matter of fact, and they have told me that they're spending more and more time having to document and justify their existence because, DOD is always looking at places to cut and, separation of church and state, being misinterpreted, et cetera, et cetera. So they're spending more time trying to justify their existence. And that's kind of the case for us too, excuse me. So we need to let people know what we're doing out there because a lot of people within our organization have no idea what we do. And so dashboard reporting is one of those tools that we can use to get that information out there. Most of us that are, chaplains, we know what we do behind the scenes. Problem is very few people know about it. And this isn't an issue of blowing our own horns, because I know there's a lot of humble men and women on this class. It's a matter of advocating and promoting the chaplaincy. So this isn't like showing off or, beating your own brow like Tarzan or something. This is a way to promote the chaplaincy and endorse it, advocating it. So it does matter to the organization of chaplains as a whole. So when we report our work as chaplains, it gets noticed. And as Deb said, it gets credited on the VFW reporting dashboards. And normally it's reported as community service and veterans assistance. And I'll get to that, revisit that in a bit. And again, as she said, this benefits the organization as a whole, your department, your district, and down to the post level. So it affects a lot of people, and it does matter that we report this. So what we achieve through dashboard reporting is demonstrating the value of chaplaincy to the organization. So that's what this is about, documenting value. So that's a good thing. So next I want to touch on is what to report and what not to report. I'm sure that'll stimulate a lot of what ifs, and we'll have time for Q&A at the end to bring up those, what about this, or what about those, this situation, because those are definitely valid questions. Things like that you could report would be like your mileage, your time, and expenses. When you do things like visitations, homes or hospitals, memorial services that you attend or lead, meeting with members to counsel them, to comfort them, to assist them, community events, any kind of service that you perform. And here's a caveat: provided it's in the service to veterans and or you are representing the VFW. That's really important because, as you all know, there's other forms of community service, such as volunteering and serving your church, or there's other organizations, or maybe you're just being a helpful friend or a good citizen and helping somebody or helping out a neighbor. Those things don't necessarily count, because unless you're representing the VFW, it doesn't count. So if you're out there, serving a church event or something, you can't just double dip and give it VFW credit unless you're representing the VFW at that particular event, and it would be appropriate to do so. So that's right there is a good validation of the importance of wearing VFW identifying clothing. So wearing your polo shirt and your cap, things like that. That's real important, because then people know who you're representing, and it removes the ambiguity who you're representing, your church or neighborhood, whatever. So again, there's a good plug to wear VFW like a shirt, etc. Even when you make a hospital visit, I think that's important, because then people see, oh, the veterans, they're taking care of each other. The VFW is sending a chaplain. So those things do matter. On the other hand, and if you have like a regular post meeting or a meal or a party at your post, that doesn't count as community service. It has to be in the service of others besides post functions. So in other words, I attended the post meeting. Obviously, you can't put that as community service, because you're serving your post yourself and your friends there. So you have to distinguish between the two. Now, for district or department chaplains, I know there's a few online here, that can include your post or district visits. So when Dave or myself or any of us that are like department chaplains, for example, if you're making an official visit to support a post or visit or presenting an award, things like that, that would be community service, because it's outside of your own post regularly scheduled meetings, and that's supporting the organization. So I just thought of this a little bit ago, but just to kind of get what our appetites here, just some examples of the contrast between what's reportable, i.e. representing the VFW, and what's not reportable. Just some examples. This is not conclusive of all things. Things that you could afford would be maybe attending or conducting funeral services, meeting for counseling people or an individual outside of the post function. So in other words, if you're at a post meeting or at the canteen and you counsel somebody informally at the canteen, that's really not going to count. But if you schedule a meeting to meet with that person to help them, of course, that could be assistance to veterans. Home and hospital visits, as I mentioned, community events where you're representing the VFW. And it could be just, as a chaplain, or maybe you're representing the VFW in a non-chaplaincy role, but you're still reporting for the VFW. Some examples of things that are not reportable would be things like our post meetings, the conventions we go to, serving a friend or a family member in need, when you're serving other organizations or a church, for example, or you're attending a veterans event, unless you're specifically doing something on behalf and representing the VFW. Next thing I want to talk about is the actual how-to, the meat and potatoes of this. And as Deb mentioned, I think this is a national initiative. Most states have this. You can see in the top left, I'm Department of California, so I go to VFWCA.org, and that takes me to the VFW Department of California page. And so you would each have departmental pages for your individual states. Now on the top right there, I put a little red arrow there where it says report entry. That's where you would start. You click that, and that would get you into the reporting mode. So what you would do is you'd plug in your member ID and a password. If you don't have one, you could set one up. Usually your quartermaster, such that you have good people that are more knowledgeable in this. If you have trouble, they're usually pretty knowledgeable how to log into these dashboards. Basically, you just put in your member ID and your password. If I remember correctly, Deb, it's the first 3 letters of your last name. Is that correct? At least it is for California. But so we all have access to this.
I honestly don't know. I
Okay.
have it all written down in
I
a book.
can interrupt if you'd like. I
Please.
think it should be your member number plus your last name lowercase. It
Okay.
should,
Yeah, yeah, correct. Your member ID number, and then your password is your last name. I think for California, you only need the first 3, but I could be wrong because it's on auto populate. But that's how you would log in. So again, you just go to the member report entry on the top right there, plug in your ID there, and then that would take you to the dashboard here, options here on the left. So a couple things I wanted to point out. On the top there is your program dashboard. And I just want to show you that so you see once you upload your reports, how it's going to be visible to everybody else, including yourself. So here would be an example of what the dashboard looks like. And you can see, now it's a little bit small, but it's in order by district. So the first category is District 1, and then it has all the different post numbers in numerical order. Now it's off to the screen. If you scrolled to the right, then it would take you to this section, which I enlarge here. And there's basically a period 1 and a period 2. And this would be the first half of the election period and the second half. So for example, it'd be synonymous to like a fiscal year. It's not a calendar year. So when the new officers take place to the, so for example, July 1 through the end of December would be period 1 and period 2, which we're in now. Now there's 2 categories, community service and veterans assistance. And you can see there's some zeros for some posts that don't have anything entered. And then in the green, you see like a 5 and 2. That would mean 5 entries for community service, 2 for veterans assistance. So this is what it would look like. And then if you actually highlighted the numbers there, you could actually open the report to see, well, what exactly did they do? And that's where you'd see, well, the chaplain did this or did that. Now going back to that, going back to the menu there on the left at the very bottom where you see my blue arrow there, program reporting. This is what you would select to actually import or report what you've done. So, and when you open up the menu, there's just 2 broad categories. I circled in red. There's community service, which I highlighted. You can see the blue, it's been illuminated, and that gives you some activities to choose from, like citizenship, POWMI, etc. And then the other one is veterans assistance. So you could pick one or the other. Now keep in mind, these are very broad categories. A lot of what we do doesn't fit into either one. So you have to kind of best guess which one you think it would fit best in. That's why at the bottom there, you can see where it says other, because there's a lot of things we do that don't have its own category. So here's an example of something I do that's VFW rated, but not specifically chaplain duty. And that's flag etiquette. And what I do, and let me enter that. Excuse me here. Okay, so here it auto-populates. It says my post, my district, my email, and then the date of activity. I would change that if I wasn't reporting the day of. And then you just write in, you check off the appropriate box, and then in the bottom there you can put in how many hours it took, how many miles you may have driven, and if there's more than one member. Sometimes it's just myself doing something, or maybe I was part of a group of 5 that did something. That's where you'd plug that in. So you don't have to. Each member doesn't have to log in separately. I could say, hey, I'll report for this event, and I'll put in that there was 5 of us, for example. Now here's an example of what I said, like flag etiquette. Here's something that's not chaplain related, but an example of some of the additional duties we have. I put in the hours. It took me about an hour and a half. I drove about 21 miles. And then in the descriptions, I put flag pickups in the community. Actually, I pick them up at the fire stations. VFW has a drop-off box for use flags ready for retirement at our community fire stations, and once a month I go around picking them up. So then I just enter this information, and then it gets put into the dashboard. Let's go back to the other category, because remember there's community service, and in the middle here there's veterans assistance. Now here I'm going to check off other, because what I'm going to demonstrate here doesn't have its own category, which tends to be more the case than not for what we do as chaplains. So here'd be an example. You can see I enlarged the font there, but at the bottom I said post chaplain attended a memorial service at the cemetery, however you want to word it. Doesn't have to be real detailed, but you can put the cemetery name or whatever. Here's the thing I want to emphasize. Write down that it was the chaplain that attended the memorial service, or the chaplain did this or that. Otherwise, they're going to see the report and they're going to go, oh, it was a VFW member went to a funeral. That's nice. But we want them to see that it was a chaplain. So put chaplain in the text there so that they see who it was, who specifically within the post or district or state, whatever, did the activity. And then again, you put the hours, the miles, how many members. Where it says dollar value, that's auto-populated. They just calculate what your mileage is worth. You don't need to do that. So again, main things is you put in your hours, the miles driven, how many members you're reporting for, and then just put a little sentence or two of what you did. You can, you don't have to be real long, but at least make it clear. So when somebody clicks on that community service, they can say, oh, chaplain went to a memorial service. Or you could put chaplain led a memorial service at the post, or at such and such a place, whatever it might be. Here's another example. Again, it would be the other category. It could be under like veterans assistance. And then again, you check the other, because there really isn't a box in this dashboard for hospital visitation. So again, I wrote, remember the word chaplain, visit to a hospitalized member. That's something that we do fairly regularly. Let's put that in. If you want to put more details about the hospital or other details I think are important, that's fine, but it doesn't need to be, exhaustive. Here's an example that would apply to people that are district chaplains or department chaplains, or even future, past, or present district or department chaplains. For example, I put in district chaplain visit to post 888. That's one of the districts in my one of the posts in my district, and I made an official visit to show my support as the district chaplain or something like that. So again, if you're a district level or state level, you're making those official visits to support the chaplains, that would be something that would be VFW related. If I'm just going just to have lunch or dinner, that wouldn't count. But if I'm doing something specific to serve that post in the organization for chaplaincy, I think that would be okay to definitely list that. All right, I'm going to open this up now to questions, because I know this is brief, but this is going to be recorded, and I'll provide Dale the PowerPoint so you can look at those over at leisure, because I know this is coming kind of fast at you. But I wanted to open it up to questions, because I know there's a lot of experience with like Peter Hook and Deb and Dave, etc., about the what ifs or questions on this. And before I do that, just a few follow-on clarifications. As I said, most of your chaplain duties don't fit the options given, so you're mostly going to be using that other, fill in the dot, and just give a brief description of what you did. Again, please include the word chaplain there in your write-up so they know who was doing this service to the community, and that it was the chaplain as opposed to another member. And then remember to try to upload your reports as soon as possible, because it's easy to forget. And then you want to make sure in the right reporting period. And then they're not going to appear in the dashboard until the person at the department who's designated to approve the reports gives the approval, and then they'll show up. We have somebody at state level that reviews all the entries, and then she'll give it the go ahead, just because she's trying to make sure it's appropriate. Because people do, we make mistakes, and then they'll approve it if it's okay, and then it'll show up on the dashboard. So if you put it in tonight and it doesn't show up for a couple of days, that could be why. So don't think you did something wrong necessarily. All right, I think this is a good point to open it up to questions people have for a group of us that are here today.
Frank, if I could interject here.
Please.
When you write it up, it is important for you to say you did something specific. You officiated a funeral. You conducted a memorial service. You attended to, visit with the family. Say what you did. Otherwise, you're just a Joe that walked in the building and left. Always give them a description, because National will want that. It just doesn't count that you showed up and left. But, if you consoled the family, visited with the family, did a committal service, did a funeral service, prayed a prayer during the funeral service, which shows the VFW was part of the funeral service. you need to kind of say that. You don't need to get long-winded about it. You just need, one good sentence of why you went there and what you did. But I found that early on, if you weren't descriptive, they'd kick it back. Now if they kick your report back, you can rewrite it and resubmit it. Find out what the person looking for it wants. You will find that usually it's the job of either the junior or the senior vice to approve those things. At least in my state it is. And each one of them reads a little different. I've been the chaplain for 10 years, and I can tell you each one reads it differently. Sometimes you have to educate them on chaplain's duties, believe it or not. You have to explain it to them. And that doesn't bother me. I just stand right on up and explain it to them. But you need to be descriptive and show, like if you meet someone at the post to consult with them, then that's legitimate. But you can't be there at a meeting and talk to a guy and call that counseling. It has to be separate of the meeting. At least in Missouri it does. When I write it up, I can't say, well, that was also the post night and I just sat there and talked to him across the table. I have to prove I did something special.
Yeah, thanks
and
for,
phone calls the same way. I do count my phone calls sometimes if they last a while and I'm actually counseling a member about like a death in the family. I talked an hour and a half yesterday with a man who I know well, obviously, whose brother died. His wife has just died in the last few months, and his sister died right before that. So we had a long conversation. I usually don't talk that long, usually 5 or 10 minutes and I'm finished, because they don't want to talk that long. But I've known this man for at least 10, 12 years, and he's a good friend. But he's one of my guys. So I talked to him. And that's all I want to say about that. Thank you.
yeah, just a caveat that, in the examples, it said just hospital visit. Usually when I write them up, I do put more information. I'll give like the hospital name, and I'll put something like having surgery or patient, somebody sick, but not the diagnosis, of course. And then like what Deb was mentioning, like the funeral service or memorial service, I usually plan in there, met with the family to plan the memorial service, spent an hour, and, doing some grief counseling or planning the memorial service, talking to different members, and then drove with the family. I'll give more details than that, so that they know exactly what we did. Because just say I led a funeral or a memorial service, like Deb said, it really doesn't, for a lot of people, they don't get what that entails. They don't even think that you have to plan it, meet with the family and things like that. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm gonna have to, when I do a revision of this slide, I'm going to include that about specificity. And then finding stuff is important too, because what we assume other people don't. They don't necessarily understand what it entails or what it even means. We have people with raised hands. Let's see here. Deb, do you see the raised hands?
Yes, I can. I see George from Iowa and Peter Hook and Andrew Socket and Nicholas. I think you just need to put your view. You need to change it to gallery, side by side gallery.
Just did. Well, Andrew, I'm just going to do it in the order I see the windows open. Andrew Socket. Make sure you unmute. Thank you.
Yep. So I have a question. So normally when I do the entries to national, I go to the VFW.org and go to OMS and use the dashboard system there. Our state does have the state website, but we don't have the report and entry option. Does that work to be able to just do everything through the national website?
Deb, can you address that?
Can you repeat it?
So our state has the website, but we don't use the report and entry. And I know that because I'm the assistant webmaster for our state. Nobody uses our state website to go in and to report anything like Frank showed us on the PowerPoint.
Okay.
We all go to VFW.org, the OMS site, and go through dashboard and report all of our
Now, I may be
way.
wrong, and somebody may know better than me, but I understand that's not going to continue to happen. So I don't know. I mean, you need to take that to your state, because remember, each one of these states do something just a little different. And I would talk to them about it.
I'm the one who runs the website, and I'm just going to have to talk to the Council of Administration, I guess, but they never. I'm going to have to explain why we need to use it, because they don't see a purpose of using it when they all go through OMS.
Well, one of the reasons we use it is to make sure that we know who to give white hats to and state awards and all that.
That's all done through the national website.
Well, this is connected to the national website.
Okay. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Are they connected?
They are. That's
Okay.
it. If what I understand, National can even look at this.
Okay.
And they're moving towards it, but it's going to become a national thing.
Okay.
Hey, Deb,
Yes.
at the moment, it's Dave. At the moment, he can do that. If that's how your state does it, that's fine. In our state, we do it just like your state. The junior vice collects it all, and then he insert in the OMS. But if they're doing it individually, that's fine too. We just have one person doing it, so one person can keep track of it. That's how we do it in our state. But you can do it the way, Andrew, the way you're doing it is fine. It's just, we just have one person doing all of it. So basically it's the same thing at the end of the day.
Yeah. We all do ours because we're at 28,000 people in the state of Missouri. And so we have like 180 posts. So each post puts into this. No one does it for us.
Right,
If
and
you
that's the
get it
same way on the
there-
national database. When you log
hit
into
back.
VFW.org, it's each post has to do it. And and since I have higher rights, I can see everybody in the district and the state who reports, who doesn't. Same thing for all the programs. So I just wanted to make sure they were the same, speaking to each other, at least at the moment.
Peter, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just want to give a little perspective here. When I first started getting involved in the chaplaincy, I developed a chaplain's report in order to record what I was doing, and then I would give a copy of that to my commander so that the commander knew what I was doing. And the commander was the one that put together the community service report. So that's where this whole chaplaincy reporting first started. Then it went from my post throughout the state, and then eventually beyond the state to national. Now, what has happened with the VFW in the last number of years is the development of their system and dashboard reporting. When it first began, only the adjutant was able to get on. Then they opened it up to more, and now it's evolved to where we are going to be able to report. And most states have gone that way, but there are 7 states, I think it is yet, that are not on board with this. Pennsylvania is one of them. Hopefully after June, we will be on board. And those of you that have a state that is not on board, national is going to put more and more pressure to get everybody on board. Now, when this happens, for all of us, what Frank was presenting tonight is we as individual chaplains can go on and we can report our stuff, so it gets reported as community service. Now, the problem, what's going to happen is eventually the chaplain's report, which is on jot form, is probably going to be done away with, because there's no reason at this point to have 2 reporting systems. In other words, you're going to have one reporting system and you're going to go on and you're going to report it. Now, what has happened is that's going to eventually go, it should go where your state looks at it and then the national looks at it. But in our state, they're too busy. Nobody has time to go in and evaluate what's on there. They're just going to look to see if the report is done. So we as individual chaplains, we're going to do this. We're going to report it on dashboard. It's going to go up through the system and it'll go into all the other stuff and it'll benefit the VFW. But we have to somehow get that information out. Also, if I'm a post chaplain, I want my commander to know a little bit of what I'm doing. And if you're a district commander, your district or district chaplain, your district commander ought to know. So you're going to have to, in addition to report, you're going to have to somehow figure out a way to communicate this so that they are aware. Because the way it is now, once it goes in the dashboard, who knows that so-and-so at such and such a post, it becomes a number. And unless your post commander looks on it, or your district commander, or your department, and I don't see that happening for the most part. So I think we have to get on board and do this, but we have to somehow, at the same time, make it known to our commander and those in our posts that we're, some of the things that we're doing. Anyway, that gives you a little perspective on it. But right now, there's going to be two. You got the dashboard and you got the jot form. Eventually, I foresee that jot form chaplain's report kind of disappearing, and it'll be on. Once everybody's on dashboard and that system is in, that's the way VFW wants us to go, and that's where we're going to go. And the other one, I suspect, it's just going to be done away with. Anyway, for what it's worth.
Ron Burks.
Yes, sir. I'm holding two post positions. I am District 6 chaplain, and I'm also post 10859 senior vice commander. When I do my reporting, do I need to put both that I am the senior vice commander for 10859 and district chaplain if I'm going to counsel a veteran who is in need, or going to a memorial event?
Yeah, I can tell you that on the dashboard for the Department of California, and I think that we're using the same programs, it automatically populates by post, not district or state. So anything you put in, no matter what office you're holding, it counts towards your post. That's the way it populates. I would just put in the comments, you know, if you are functioning in a particular role, that's the way, like Deb said, to remove any ambiguity. That's probably a good idea. But I remember early on, I tried to report something as district level, and it only went to the post level. And I checked with somebody at the state, Paula Jansen, and I believe she might have been the one that confirmed it for us, because she's the one that approves all our reports. She's a state surgeon.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. George from Iowa.
Yeah, this is George from Iowa. The questions I have, I know jot form is something that Peter has done and done a great job for, and I appreciate that. For me, I've been using the jot form a lot. I know our state is starting to use the dashboard more, especially for the community service reports and things like that. They're trying to gear everybody toward that. I know a lot of people on my post, for example, we have a person that we go to that, you know, we can say the hours, etc., because not everybody in our post, and that's probably true in your area also, is computer literate. We have people that are just not computer savvy and stuff like that, or just don't want to do that. And we have a specific person that we, you know, give our hours to, and that person, you know, does what they have to do, and then it goes through the state and then the national. But not everything is getting reported properly, in my personal opinion, and I see that a lot, including myself, and just trying to learn all this stuff and doing it properly and make sure the communication is happening. That is a challenge, of course, because some people are on board and some people are not. And me being a chaplain, and I've been a post chaplain for years at my particular post, and of course I'm going to get, you know, I'm already appointed again, so I do this and now I'm the adjutant. I've seen the OMS system and just learning how to do this properly or just getting some, like some general examples would be really helpful for a person like myself. And that is so new to this and learning, what's appropriate to post and in the OMS and what is not. I know what OMS is. OMS is when you basically go to your VFW.org and then you log in with your credentials and then you go from there and specific reports will be there and then you input stuff and they're gonna say yes or no or whatever works and what doesn't work and that's what we go with. So the job form is going away. I understand that. It's nice to have just one system because in my world, it's all over the place. There's times where I have to do 3 or 4 different types of systems and 3 or 4 different types of reports just so the commander knows what I'm doing. And the state and etc. and our community service report person that we have at my post that is, very adamant and religious about what he does because he's done it for so long that everybody respects him and just goes to him because he knows what he's doing.
That's part of why we have this training initiative nationwide to get the word out. Because if we can get it out nationwide, it starts filtering out to states, to post, to districts, etc. I'm trying real hard to do that in California, go through the district chaplains and commanders, and hopefully it gets out to the post levels. One of the things that we've done is at district and at department events, ask for training. Like our department convention coming up in June, I asked the commander, hey, can I do a chaplain's workshop at the department? Well, we've never done that. Well, can I do it? And they said yes. And I'm going to talk about dashboard reporting. So, it's kind of up to all of us to get the word out, and it's easier said than done. And there's an issue of non-compliance. Some people just don't want to be bothered, as unfortunately some of you know. Nicholas Barons.
Yeah. How is this different from the JOT form? Is this the community service aspect, or is the JOT form for the chaplain reporting we used to do? Are those all being combined in one form now? How's that working?
Peter, I'll let you address that, but the JOT form is basically just like a worksheet you can use, whereas the national reporting is an online database to gather all that data. That would be the main distinction.
Okay. So I, as a post chaplain, would I be able to, am I going to be required now to also log into the dashboard and post my visits, the things of my visit? Is that what's happening
Yeah,
here?
the idea is to get everybody reporting for themselves, because you can't depend on somebody to do it for you, and you know best what you did. So, and every single one of us has access to be able to report ourselves directly. And that way we all get the credit and it goes to the right centralized location. So that's what I'm trying to encourage everybody to do it, because when I took over from my department chaplain, he had a similar form, probably what Peter created, I'm thinking, but pretty much nobody was using them, and it was a kind of a lost cause. So now I'm trying to put in a plug, at least in California, train people on how to use the dashboard, because then I know at least they could do it directly without having to go through me. I think that just adds to more problems and more people are involved. So, and you know best what you've done, and you should get the credit for it.
Right. And this is in addition to the chaplain report we already do from the JOT form, or is this?
This would be this is what's replacing it. Yeah, the worksheet would be kind of like use your day planner or a scratch paper, and then use that to transfer it up, so to speak.
Okay. Now I understand. Thank you. That wasn't clicking it. That wasn't.
It is kind of confusing. It took me a while, to figure that one out myself.
Yeah.
Ronald, I don't think we called on you yet. Ronald Burks.
You've already called on me already. I just didn't take my hand down there.
All right, I should have brought it down. Sorry about that. Oh, there you are, Barbara. She just moved up to the top slot. Barbara, please.
Hi, everybody. Barbara Fitzgerald, New Jersey. I have to first let you all know I haven't made all of our meetings, but I guess I must have missed something. And my question is, this reporting, is this mandatory?
No.
Peter, can you, I can't address that.
Well, not yet. It depends on your state. In the state of Missouri, it's 100% mandatory. And I don't know how many other states are saying that it's mandatory, but it will become mandatory because it's going to be what the national level's going to use to document their community service as a 501c3. And so but it's coming on board. And so what state are you in?
I'm New Jersey.
Okay,
It's
I don't know what they're doing. I'm
It's not.
familiar- They're not. Okay. Well, I bet you're going to hear about this in the future. Let me know when you do.
Yeah, I'm on board 100%. I'm liking what I'm hearing, but I'm thinking, well, maybe I must have missed something. Like it's not.
Barbara,
Yeah.
before I forget, are you on Chaplain Peter Hook's email list so you get notified about training classes and things like this?
Absolutely.
That's great, because you know what? We're finally starting to build a growing network to communicate. So I'm really happy about that.
You'll see me.
Good. Any other hands up? I don't see any others.
Just Barbara, who needs to bring her hand down. There. Oh, here comes
Okay.
Father Tom.
I got something, guys, real quick.
Hi, Dave.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, so when I was at and the DR there, I had one of the state commanders came up to me and said one of their chaplains just had some random questions. So if anybody is on tonight that has random questions that has nothing to do with what we're training about tonight, feel free to ask, because you've got Peter and Deb and Frank and all these guys that know way more than me. So now's the time to ask. It doesn't have to be related to the dashboard. So if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. That's all I got for now.
Thanks, Dave. Father Tom. Unmute yourself.
Oh, there we
There you
go.
go.
Am I coming through?
Yes.
So, okay. Tom got y'all District 10, Chaplain, California. Also Post Chaplain 1525. I hear a lot of confusion about it, and if I can clear it up a little, and if I'm wrong on this, Frank, please throw something at me. It's set up for the dashboard to make it easy for each person to report it. But what's so important about reporting and why it's going to become mandatory is, where do we get the money or the justification for money from Congress, or get bills put through from Congress? Where do they find all the monies? From the dashboard. That's why it's so important to list things down on the dashboard. And if you're not sure whether it's put down other and describe what it is. If it's not allowed, that's fine. They'll take it off. If it is allowed, fine. If you go to a picnic somewhere and you just happen to come from a VFW meeting and you see a bunch of vets sitting over at a picnic table, maybe playing gin rummy or something, go grab your cap, put it on, and go over and talk to them and say, hey guys, and look at how much time you were sitting there talking with them, having a good time, maybe having a cup of coffee. You were there for an hour shooting the breeze. That counts. You put your hat on. You were there for veterans. It's real simple. Don't complicate it. They made it as simple as possible. we will take a billiard ball and change the numbers on it because we don't like the colors. Let's just shoot the 8-ball in the pocket. Don't worry about it. It's real simple, and they told me many moons ago, keep it simple, stupid. And I've been able to do it so far. The stupid part, I still complicate stuff, but this one's real easy, real easy. Just go for it, Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I'm shutting up.
Anybody
Thank
hear
you.
me?
Thanks
Anybody
for the
hear me?
encouragement.
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. And good evening to everyone. I'm Matthew from Maryland. I'm going to ask the question because George from Iowa stated just what I was thinking about, how to do this process. Is there something step-by-step procedure that you need to do to get this done? I think for the future, that's what we need. Get rid of this paper, yes. And then we can do a lot more, a lot quicker, and check behind ourselves with the computerized system. But he did mention the fact that a lot of people are not literate enough to deal with the machinery. It's still gonna be done. I'm not trying to, step on it. I want to get it done. I've been trying to do it for 6 or 7 years already. All right. But I'd like to have something step-by-step procedure. Step 1, 2, 3. And I think when you started out, sir, you said something about that. The 3 areas that you were talking about: why we report, what to report, and how to report.
Yes.
Yes, that's most important. Because
Mhm.
we're wasting our time and our energy. We can't get our information back to our departments and to the United States. Okay, they need to know what we do. We're important people, and some people don't think so. Yeah, and the last gentleman that spoke said just what I do a lot of: put my hat on, and I will engage people. I don't care how they feel or what's going on, and then finally they open up to you,
Mhm.
and then you got an avenue to help people, not to make yourself look any bigger, but because we are vets. We don't walk in the streets. And we got God on our side. You understand? We got God on our side. That's all I have to say. Matthew from Maryland.
Thank you. Peter?
Yeah. It's incumbent upon your department not only to come on board, most states are, there's 7, I believe, that are not. But once they are on board, it's up to the department to hold the class so that the districts and the posts know how to do this. What we are doing with the chaplains, we are coming in here and explaining it to you. But if you are in a state that has not communicated how to do this within your state, I believe then it's incumbent upon us to go to our department and say, hey, dashboard reporting, I'm supposed to be doing this. How do we do this? And if your state is on board and they have not communicated, then the department is at fault. So it's the department's responsibility to hold the class so that everybody in that department and every post knows how to do it. Anyway, my 2 cents on it. It's not us. We're helping you to be aware of it, but realize you're within a department and you have to work within your department. In Pennsylvania, we're not on this yet. So I talked to the adjutant quartermaster and he said, most likely we will be once we get through the convention. Once that happens, what I want, and they go on board with this, then I want them to have the class so that everybody knows how to do it. Anyway, for what it's worth.
Darren, you have your hand up?
Yes, sir. Darren Atkins, state chaplain from Kentucky. One of the things that's helped me out with this, because my state is using program reporting on the dashboard, I also hold the district and post adjutant positions as well. My advice, on the surface, this does look like an intimidating process, and it's really not. If from the surface it does look intimidating, but once you get into it, it's real simple. One piece of advice I can offer to you guys is get with your post adjutant and get with your district adjutant if they are already doing this. and sit with them and let them show you how they're putting the information in. It's not as intimidating as it looks. It's really quite simple. You'll do one or two, and by the time you're doing that, you'll be off and running with no training wheels. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Tiffany Daniel.
Hi, this is Chaplain Daniels
Hi.
for the Department of Maryland. So I just wanted to come back for Chaplain Boyd and Chaplain Hook. So Chaplain Boyd has been doing an excellent job, but this year was our first year really pushing electronic. So all of the reports that were sent by mail or by fax were put into our automated system once received. Under our incoming commander, he's already started setting our calendar for OTI. And at that time, that was my question at our C of A also to say, are we going to continue to push the automated system and then include this? So when I do my chaplain's block of training, should I go into this, or should I save this for the community report portion, which we know is the major part that's automated, and put it all under that caption? So for Commander Boyd, I'm still Chaplain or Commander Boyd also, he's a commander. I'm still waiting on that answer, but all the reports that were sent this year, we put them from the post to the district commanders, and then the district commanders put them up, round them up to the state, and then I would get a email confirmation for each one that had been great. Thank you. For each one that had been put into the automated system, I would receive a confirmation, and that person, when they put it in, they should also receive a confirmation that it had been received and approved. And I'm glad to see I have a couple of chaplains here tonight. So please help me continue to push this as we get ready to go for our state conference and then on to our OTI training. Thank you all.
Andrew.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to, because I'm also the post adjutant and quartermaster and the district, and they're training me even for the state, that I keep telling them I want to be the chaplain. But the OMS system, you can't break it. So I just want to encourage people, don't be afraid of the system, and just input what you feel is right, because I am an auditor, and if there is a mistake, we will reach out to you and ask for clarification. So don't be afraid of the system. Just input it, and it's up to your state to communicate with you what you need. And every state is going to be different, but just don't be afraid of the system. And I just want to encourage you, just try, no matter how many times you have to fail, because the information is important.
Yeah, and something I would say, go through your chain of command, post, go to district, go to department, and so forth. I've tutored people over the phone. We both log in together, because I've used it like LMSs for like academic institutions where you do your classes online and set up your course and stuff. And they'll log on, I'll log on, and I can coach them right over the phone. And like you said, it's not difficult. And if I say, okay, you see the box over on the left where it says that, click that, you talk them through it, and it's literally just a few minutes. I've done that before for this, and it's very satisfying to see. It's like, oh, this isn't hard at all. So a point well taken. Appreciate that. Okay, as Chaplain Dave said, it will open it up for this group. Any other questions? And Dave, Peter, Deb, anybody online could jump in and help answer if there's any other questions. Deb, I'll turn it back over to you too.
When does the new classes start for the new fiscal year? And are we going to have another class from Montana from the VA? Thank you.
My question is in line with the same.
Okay, let me start here. We're going to be electing our next national chaplain in the national convention. They'll come out of the Eastern Conference. We are crossing our fingers and hoping they agree to elect Peter Hook, but they get to elect it, so it's going to be who they choose. Peter and the committee is Frank and Jim Jenkins and myself and Dave and Peter and Dale. And we are planning to do this next year. We haven't announced a starting date yet because first we have to get Peter elected or whoever is elected on board. And we're looking at possibly moving it to a Thursday night because some people have Wednesday night services they have to go to. Hasn't been made a decision yet, but Peter's email will announce everything as soon as he is in office or the person that is in office makes the announcement. So just hold on. The committee is sticking together. We're not going to quit for next year. At least I'm not. And so, you know, just keep people on Peter's email and they'll get the information. And remember, if you want to forward his email to chaplains in your state or friends that are chaplains, you have every right to forward those emails over. And we will have a Zoom link in those emails that you can hook onto to get into the meetings. Did I answer all the question you had? Barbara? I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Barbara. You need to turn your mic back on.
Yes, thank you for that. So, the meeting times.
It'll probably be the same as it is this year because if we go at a different time, we get too early into the West Coast that they're not getting off work. And sometimes
Yeah.
it's still a problem. And then, of course, we're keeping the people on the East Coast up all night or up late. And then, of course, there's nothing we can do with the Pacific folks or the European folks because
Right.
we're dead in the middle. Well, the European folks are dead in the middle of the night, and the Pacific people are in the middle of their day. So that's the best we could come up with to serve as many people as we could. Now that we have these things recorded and our great person Dale puts them on YouTube for us, if you miss something or the time is not convenient or you have a church function or some other function, you can come back on and get on that YouTube and see the class we presented then.
Good job. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Peter, did you have any parting words? No? Frank, you can pray.
We had a good year together, a good year of training, and I really appreciate all the cooperation, all the work that everybody's doing out there. And if you come across anything that will help us, send it my way. Or if you come across anything where you say, hey, I'm not sure how to navigate this, send me an email and I'll walk you through it, or between all of us, we'll come up with a solution. So we're here to help one another through this. So
I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have fellow friends that are chaplains, because I've called on that committee more times than I can count. What do you guys think? How do you think we should handle this? What are you all doing with stuff like this? Have you ever heard of this happening? And coming up with much more solid answers than I would by myself, because we're dealing with people and personalities, and sometimes that takes a little talking to walk it through. And we've got politics that's different everywhere, and we've got to make sure that we're staying within that positive realm of taking care of the commander and the state and the national commander, and yet taking care of the veteran at the same time. So before my Advil wears off and I get my fever again, I'm going to ask Frank to say a closing prayer. And I hope and pray to see all of you back here. Probably will start in September. Hasn't been set up yet, but I'm sure by September we'll have something going.
Yeah, before your closing prayer, I
Yes.
would like to thank everybody for showing up to these meetings. And I would especially like to thank my staff, all you guys, for helping me out, because I couldn't have done it this year without any of you. You guys have made my year really, really easy. So thank you all very, very much. And Frank, I'd love you to say the closing prayer. That'd be great. And I'm going to go out because I'm probably going to lose you again. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Dave, for supporting all of us and what we're working on together. And as Deb said, I can't emphasize enough, no one person has all the answers. And if they do think that, then they got bigger problems.
Yeah.
But to collectively, we all do have the answers together, because there's like 44 participants here. Between 44 of us, we probably have the answer, and that's the good thing. So on that, Lord, I just want to thank you for the dedication and the diligence of every person that took time out of their busy week to be a part of this. I just ask that this training program will continue to grow and be healthy, and help us all to equip and learn and work together for growth as an organization. Personally, I just again ask for safe travels for Chaplain Dave, and heal Deb's throat. She's hoarse and not feeling well. And I just ask that you protect every one of our chaplains online today, and special blessings on those that wanted to be here tonight but couldn't. And just continue to bless our organizations and our chaplaincy work. And it's in your most precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. See you guys again.